Bismillahi awwaluhu wa akhiruh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yesterday, we looked at the memory of the child and recognized memory to be something of tremendous importance. That if your memory is damaged, your capacity to think will be diminished. And what is happening to our children now in this age where we are inundated with electromagnetic waves all around us in the cities, is that the memory of the child is being damaged. We spoke yesterday about the imagination. When the child reaches the age of 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and how the imagination must be fed so it can expand and expand and expand. And the natural environment to trigger off the expansion of the imagination is all around us in nature. The child must interact with nature, with the trees, and the flowers, and the birds, and the wind, and the waves, and the sea, and the clouds. And in this interaction with Allah's book out there, the book of nature, the imagination can expand. And instead today the child is hooked to the smartphone and to the cyber world, which is an artificial world. And so the growth of the imagination is stunted. And then we spoke about aptitude, that Allah creates us all with different aptitudes. And it is the function of the teacher, of the mother, of the father, the uncle, the imam, to spot the aptitude of the child and to allow this river to run in the direction that Allah has ordained it should run, so that it can become a big river, and not to move in another direction. This is the direction you'll end up with a Mercedes-Benz motor car. Today we want to go beyond memory and the I also forgot about history. In expanding the imagination, the child must read history, be told stories. My son was 7 years of age when I started to teach him the seerah. And I would teach him every morning while he's having breakfast. It took me 6 months to complete the seerah. And when I was finished, guess what he said? He said, "Papa, start again." Start again. And as your child is introduced to history, to the stories of history, and the best storybook of all of history is the Quran, the Qasasul Anbiya, the imagination of the child will expand. This is the age for expansion. This is the age for building as big, as broad as foundation as you can build, so that tomorrow you would have versatility. You would not only become a medical doctor, you also become a philosopher, you become a mathematician. The sky is the limit. And this is being stunted today because the child is being deprived. The young people are being deprived of this food that they need, and because of this artificial world which is presented to them. Now today, we move beyond this now to something called the aql. The aql is the intellect. And we are told that the intellect resides in a place called the brain. But that's not the Quran. The Quran doesn't say that. The Quran speaks of aql as an activity that is located in the heart. It is the heart that engages in intellectual activity, and the brain is but an appendage used by the heart for processing purposes, a processor. And the heart processes, the heart interprets, the heart penetrates knowledge in two ways. And this is a branch of knowledge. Don't be scared by this big word. It's called epistemology, the study of knowledge, the branch of knowledge which studies knowledge. And this is the heart and knowledge. Nabi Muhammad ﷺ said, every prophet has warned his people about Dajjal. Do you notice how slowly I speak? Do you notice how I pronounce each word separately? I want you to be teachers. And what I teach, I want you to teach to others on the condition that you're convinced that I'm teaching what is correct. Every prophet has warned his people about Dajjal. And the Prophet Nuh alayhi salam warned his people about Dajjal. But I am going to tell you something about him no one has ever said before me. Hence, this is of more than simply passing importance. Dajjal sees with the left eye. He is blind in the right eye. It looks like a bulging grape. But your Lord is not one-eyed. Between his eyes on his forehead is written the word Kafir. And every mu'min being someone who has faith in the heart, and faith is not sold in the supermarket, every mu'min will be able to read the word kafir, whether he is katib or ghayru katib, whether he is literate or illiterate. What do we make of this? There are those, I fondly refer to them as schoolboys, who, when Dajjal stands up in Jerusalem eventually and declares, I am the Messiah, and all those who are one-eyed, including those Muslims who become friends of the State of Israel, even in Britain, these traitors in our ranks. I don't want to see your face, I don't want to shake hands with you. Come before me. If you're a Muslim and you embrace Israel, or you embrace this government of India, get out of my sight, I don't want to see you. How dare you come to me? When this man stands up in Jerusalem and says, I am the Messiah, the schoolboy will say, no, you cannot be the Messiah. Why? Because the Prophet said, the Messiah has the word Kafir written on his forehead, and every mu'min will be able to read it. And I can't see the word Kafir written on your forehead, so you are not Dajjal. That's the schoolboy. Because he lacks the capacity to think. I don't know, maybe because he became a friend of the State of Israel, that's why he lost the capacity to think. So why is it that Abu Bakr Siddiq can read Kafir, But Abu Jahl cannot read it. What's wrong? So we send Abu Jahl to the eye specialist. And the eye specialist checks him out and his vision is perfect. So now we have a puzzle. Abu Bakr can see on the forehead of Dajjal the written word Kafir, but Abu Jahl cannot read it. Why is it that he can see and he cannot see? Is it that Abu Bakr is not seeing with these eyes alone? Is it that we have to ask the question, do we have any other eyes beside these eyes? Schoolboys don't ask these questions. This is epistemology. Dajjal gives one answer, which is modern Western civilization. And modern Western civilization says, no, these are the only eyes we have. We have no other eyes. And so knowledge comes, as I said yesterday, from observation, from experimentation and rational inquiry. But the Quran says no. The Quran says that knowledge comes not only from external sight, but also internal sight. أَفَلَمْ يَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ Surah Al-Hajj. Will they not travel through the earth? فَتَكُونَ لَهُمْ قُلُوبٌ يَعْقِلُونَ بِهَا. That by traveling through the earth, the dead heart might come alive. The Quran doesn't speak about the brain. The Quran speaks about the heart. That the dead heart might come alive. And with the dead heart which comes alive, you'll now be able to recognize and think and understand what otherwise you could not. أَوْ آذَانٌ يَسْمَعُونَ بِهَا. And with the heart which has come alive, you'll now be able to hear what otherwise you could not hear. Now listen. فَإِنَّهَا لَا تَعْمَى الْأَبْصَارِ وَلَكِنْ تَعْمَى الْقُلُوبَ الَّتِي فِي الصُّدُورِ. What is blind is not these eyes. What is blind is the heart which is inside your chest. This is a completely different epistemology. The knowledge comes only from external observation, that's their view. The knowledge comes both externally and internally, this is our view. And so Dajjal's most formidable attack on mankind is epistemological. Dajjal seeks to reduce our educational system and our house of knowledge only to books that you read. I read that kitab and that kitab and that kitab and that kitab. And that you make you an alim. Yeah, I memorized this and that and that and that and that. That made you an alim. You pass the examination, you now become an alim. What a load of rubbish that in this miserable age we have to live to witness this, that you have to pass an examination to become an alim. We never had this rubbish in all our history, that there is something called an alim course. We never had this rubbish in all our history. Never. And yet today we are told there is something called an alim course. And when you study it and you pass your exam, you're an alim. What a load of rubbish. That's why we are in the mess in which we are today. Because it's only external knowledge. This kitab and that kitab and that kitab and that kitab and that kitab. That is the house of knowledge that led us into this mess in which we are today. This is what is producing the scholars of Islam today. So when Musa alayhi salam said, yes, I am the most learned of all men. I have to cut some corners because of time. And then Allah said, no, you're not. He said, I want to meet him. And when he met him, you know, Musa is not actually the prophet here. The name of the prophet is being used as a front for Banu Israel. And they say of themselves, we are the chosen of the Lord God. We are the intellectual elite of mankind. I don't think they want to charge me with anti-Semitism for that, because they're proud of it. We are the intellectual elite of mankind. So Khidr alayhi salam is sending a message. When Musa said, alayhi salam, I want to follow you, to learn from you what Allah gave to you, since you're the most learned of all men. So what does Khidr alayhi salam say to that arrogant world of knowledge? That arrogant world of knowledge that closes the doors of the masjid to someone who wants to teach the Quran? These are the two loveliest verses of Surah Al-Kahfi. I've always said, when you come to my grave, if you don't see it, put it there please on my grave for me. إِنَّكَ لَن تَسْتَطِيعَ مَعِيَ صَبْرًا وَكَيْفَ تَصْبِرُ عَلَى مَا لَمْ تُحِطْ بِهِ خُبْرًا. This is where we have to build a new house of knowledge in Islam. You cannot bear with patience with what I have to teach. No. And how is it possible for you when it lies beyond your capacity to comprehend? How can you bear with patience in respect of that which lies beyond your capacity to comprehend? It is because of these two verses of Surah Al-Kahfi that I have said, with all the good that the Darul Uloom is doing, and they are sincere people, and they are dedicated people, and they devote so many years of their lives, and so not for me to speak ill of them, and to try to humiliate them, that would be very sinful. But if you believe you can change that system of knowledge and education, when they feel this, they have this arrogance, yes, it is an arrogance, that our system is correct and it cannot be changed, then you're whistling in the wind. And that's why I have said, the future belongs to those who will build a new model of education and knowledge for higher Islamic learning, a new model. And this new model is here in this part of today's lecture. That he is the most learned of all men because of two things. آتيناه رحمة من عندنا وعلمناه من لدنا علما. Allah gave him knowledge directly. So this is not external knowledge, this is internal knowledge. And Surah Al-Kahfi is saying that internal knowledge will never cease. Never cease. Allah will constantly send down knowledge on His servants. But we have to show kindness. We have to show patience, yes. As I have consistently have to show patience, except that sometimes I lose my patience, I have to admit. When you have knowledge coming directly upon you from Allah, and Allah will choose the servants He wants to send. It doesn't matter whether you are Deobandi or Brelvi or Ahl Hadith or this or that or the other. It is Allah who will choose. And when Allah sends down that knowledge upon you, then only the Khidr alayhi salam, only he is the model of Islamic scholarship in Akhiru Zaman. So when Musa alayhi salam set out to meet him, Allah said, you will find him, as I said yesterday, at Majma'ul Bahrain. This should be the day at the top, the motto of the institution of Islamic learning in Akhiru Zaman. This is Majma'ul Bahrain, the place where the two oceans meet. So the schoolboy will say, is it the Atlantic or the Pacific? But the one who is a critical thinker will realize, no. This is the ocean of knowledge externally acquired and the ocean of knowledge internally received. And these two worlds of knowledge have to come together and be harmoniously integrated. You are seeing Imran sitting in front of you, but the knowledge is not from me. The knowledge is from my teacher, Maulana Dr. Muhammad Fadlur Rahman Ansari. It is his words that are coming to you. That these two worlds of knowledge must be harmoniously integrated. We saw a spark of that. Oh yes, a glittering spark of that in Dr. Muhammad Iqbal, who was not the graduate of a Darul Uloom. If Iqbal was the graduate of a Darul Uloom, he would never have become an Iqbal. Never have become a mufakkir, a thinker. So we have a very significant problem to deal with. We are stuck with the Darul Uloom. We do not want to be disrespectful to them. We do not want to hurt their feelings. All right? But how do you transform them when they shut the doors on you? Answer, you got to build a new house. When Maulana Fadlur Rahman Ansari established the Alimia Institute of Islamic Studies in Karachi, and I was one of the first students of that institute, and they looked at us, they laughed at us. They said, this is neither fish nor fowl. What kind of a Darul Uloom is this man creating? They're not laughing anymore today. No, particularly here in Britain when they're feeling the fire now. Then they tried to copy what he was doing. And they started putting political science in the curriculum and economics in the curriculum. And guess what they do? They will get a lecturer in political science to come and teach the political science class, and a lecturer in economics to come and teach the economics class. And this side of the Darul Uloom continued unchanged. But that's not what Maulana Fadlur Rahman Ansari did. No. We were taught politics from the Quran. And we were taught economics from the Quran. So when I left the Institute of International Relations of the University of the West Indies, I told you yesterday I came first in the class, so I got a further scholarship to go to do the PhD in Geneva. And this is the most prestigious institute in the whole of Europe, the Graduate Institute of International Studies in Geneva. And I'm in the classroom of international economics. And my teacher is Professor Curzon, a distinguished professor of the Institute. And he couldn't take the heat. Because every day I was challenging him in the classroom. Because your economics is all bogus. I could do that because I had the Quran. And I was taught economics from the Quran. I was taught how to study the Quran. Do you know what the professor did? I don't think it ever happened in the history of that institute. He called me aside one day, he said, Mr. Hosein, you know you don't have to attend my class. Just write the exam at the end of the year. Meant I don't want you in my class anymore. The heat was too much for him. I took the exam at the end of the year, I passed the exam. So, this is Mr. What do you call Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Two different worlds of scholarship in the same Darul. On this side is this one, on this side, and they're not connected to each other. No, says Maulana Fadlur Rahman Ansari. You have to integrate the two worlds of knowledge harmoniously. And to integrate them harmoniously, you need the Quran. And to use the Quran, you have to have the proper methodology for study of the Quran. And this is what Allah is teaching us. In the encounter between Musa alayhi salam and Khidr is not just a story. The boat and the boy and the wall. It's not just a story. In these three encounters, there is a profound lesson being taught about two epistemologies, two houses of knowledge. This one, inadequate and defective, cannot work in Akhiru Zaman. This is the house of knowledge for Akhiru Zaman, the one which stands on the foundation of Khidr alayhi salam.